Yeah, I have to tell you, James, I didn't know if I could get through that without crying today. It's one of those Mondays. So thank you for that. I'm going to go back and read it. Rachel, deeply resonating with those messages today. Thank you. I welcome you. Any observations that you might have, James, on that, since I know that it's up in your office. Is there any thoughts that you'd like to share? I welcome those.
It's just more, it resonates with me because of being a peer specialist. Like, I am my story. It doesn't define me anymore. It doesn't my story does not cause me to be sad. I just know that that is my story, and I use it every day to help people. And we are brave, and a lot of us have been brokenhearted, and we come out the other side. We're strong, we're resilient. I mean, we fight stigma every day. Like, with our stories, we prove people wrong, that we are not the stigma that people that has substance use disorders, where that stigma like places upon us.
Okay, so now I'm crying. 100%, James, thank you. Yes, we are the authors of our lives. Yeah. Beautifully said, James. Devin says, thank you. What a team. Way to begin, reset the day for me today. Thank you, James. Kiki, always appreciate your authenticity, right? So grateful. So grateful for you, James, for the mindfulness practice, for all of you being in it. I think we all just want to hear more from James and Jeremy.
We're going to. That's what we're going to do. So September is so many things. It is National Recovery Month. We'll be sharing out, I'll drop the link in here for National Recovery Month. The toolkit from SAMHSA is always available to us. And I wanted to read this and the why behind elevating two of our deeply valued colleagues here today. This year, to address the nation's growing crisis of substance misuse and overdose death, SAMHSA is launching initiatives that promote and support evidence-based treatment and recovery practices, the emergence of a strong and proud recovery community, and the dedication of service providers and community members across the nation who make recovery possible. We have two of these very humans on the line representing our very own borough program that does this every single day, our recovery services team. So we have we're going to elevate, don't forget that we have a landing page on our borough website that is dedicated to recovery services, and a video right here to elevate all that our recovery services team does. And then from here, we get to welcome in Jeremy and James to take us away here. No sound, bummer. Well, you know what? We can watch that anytime. So I think what we'll do is say, Jeremy, we'd love to hear from you. So we're going to go, we've got Jeremy and James here with us today, representing our recovery services team. Specifically though, I think you'll remember Ralph, who joined us last year, and we started getting more and more familiar about our peer specialists in the system. And today, Jeremy and James will continue to light that inspiration and hope that so many of us felt and experience every time we get to engage with Ralph. So Jeremy, welcome to Be Well, and thank you for joining us today as we honor National Recovery Month.
Thank you for having us. I guess I'll go ahead and start with my story. I'm going to be reading this. Much better to read from a script than go off key, I think. Let's see. My recovery has been the most profound experience in my life. And I delivered 13 babies, so that's saying something. My recovery helped me to improve my life mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It's hard for me to separate my previous career in EMS and my recovery story because I believe they are so intertwined. There is also the time I spent at Burrell as a client, initially at Branson and then Branson West. With the resistance, arrogance I approached with my early recovery with, my arrogance and resistance eventually gave way to a greater understanding of recovery, which allowed me to fully embrace the lessons and experiences I was going to be exposed to. Then it was able to come full circle for me one fateful day while sitting in an empty parking lot in Carthage, Missouri, typing a client's note, when I got a phone call asking me if I wanted to apply for the CPS position at Branson West. My recovery journey has been hard, it has been long, it has been filled with at times a roller coaster of emotions, but if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change a thing because I know I'm a better man today by virtue of it. My journey began back in Fort Wayne, Indiana. There I worked as emergency medical services in a high volume 911 system. I went on many different types of calls, from news, famous shootings, traffic accidents, stabbings, and fires to the less famous stubbed toes, toothaches, sniffles, and many types in between. There are many of those who are still with me today, and they're both good and bad memories. One such call that is still affecting me today, both mentally and physically, occurred on September 12th, 2009, when I was transporting a stabbing victim to the hospital from a popular nightclub. While traveling down the road with our lights and sirens activated, a car, unbeknownst to us, had pulled up just off our driver's side rear bumper. Two men in the vehicle then opened fire with two handguns, striking my ambulance with more than 20 rounds. Thankfully, the metal exterior and supplies in our cabinets were able to slow down most of the bullets enough so they were unable to penetrate the patient compartment, except for 2 rounds. Those 2 rounds both entered through the window on one of the rear doors. The first of the 2 rounds went harmlessly into a cabinet next to me, but the second bullet struck the windowsill and fragmented into multiple smaller projectiles. These bullet fragments struck me in my left rib cage, left forearm, left elbow, both of my eyebrows, and the bridge of my nose. I was told by a doctor I was only millimeters away from losing sight in one or both of my eyes that night. For inquiring minds, yes, they were both caught within 10 minutes because they went past the jail. They were found guilty of their crimes, one receiving 80 years, the other 150 years. I know I had adrenaline coursing through my body, but I don't actually remember feeling any pain that per se, but I do remember feeling the feeling of heat inside of my arm and my side. After arriving at the hospital, my patient and I received excellent care and were both able to walk out of the hospital. However, because of the bullet fragments still inside my arm and side, I can't hold my elbow against the glass in the winter without the metal inside getting cold and causing sharp pain. And I can never have another MRI again. A positive to come out of this event was because of it, I received the Heroic Rescue of the Year award in 2012 in the state of Indiana. I initially tried to downplay the award in my actions that night and continuing to provide care to my patient after being shot. I highlight this event because shortly after is when I began to no longer enjoy going into work anymore. I began to consume noticeably higher amounts of alcohol, along with becoming more and more reclusive, if not agoraphobic and depressed. About 5 years after this event, I was hospitalized for the first time, had severe neuropathy along with organ damage. I lost about 80 pounds in the span of 2 weeks. Spent 27 days in the hospital, in physical therapy hospital, while learning how to walk again. I then went and did 9 months of outpatient physical therapy, along with getting back into the office, trying to get back onto my ambulance. After I did, I was then bored one night and had the thought to myself, I can handle this, and began drinking again. My drinking got even worse than it was before. It wasn't soon after that I lost my job because I went into work with alcohol in my breath. It wasn't long before my alcohol was more chaotic than before, which soon prompted me to be admitted to the hospital for a second time in 14 months because of neuropathy and organ damage. This time, while sitting in the hospital bed, I had a moment of clarity and realized I needed help. I called my family then and there, and they came to Indiana and completely packed up my apartment before I was discharged. They moved me to Reed Spring. The next day, I was in the lobby of Burl Branson signing up for treatment. I often tell clients, offering my story in early sessions and classes, how I was the most arrogant, bullheaded, resistant in the entire building at the time. I'm then quickly reminded by the techs who have been here since before I was a client that it wasn't just at that time. When I started the C-STAR program, I knew I couldn't stop using alcohol on my own, but I also didn't think there was anything I could learn from any of the staff. Trust me, they could tell you stories. I now see how important counseling, education classes, and MAT services are for recovery, but that's not where I had my light bulb moment. I was sitting in process group for the umpteenth time, staring at the floor as I often did then, listening to my peers talking about their own struggles with recovery. I finally realized I wasn't alone. I didn't have to experience this fear, uncertainty, anger, guilt, and shame by myself. There were people who truly understood what I'd been experiencing in isolation for these past years. I still remember the exact moment a literal switch was flipped in my head, sitting in the large classroom in Branson West, in the same chairs I now sit in for staff meetings. Now I was motivated. I actually began shaving again, styling my hair, dressing well. I came to classes and groups multiple times a week and for multiple hours per day. I was devoted to my recovery. There are many clients who came through Branson West while I was there, and I'm sure many wouldn't remember me. But after that switch turned on for me, I remember all of them because I learned something from every single one of them that helped me with my recovery. Unfortunately, I had to finish my last month or so telehealth because of the COVID pandemic. But when I was able to come in quickly for my certificate and coin, I was as proud that day as when I won my Heroic Rescue of the Year award. Fast forward about 1 year, COVID is still rampant. I'm ready to start working again. Although working in EMS was extremely rewarding for me in many ways, it was also detrimental to all this work I had put into my recovery. Since I chose not to continue my previous career in EMS, I decided to follow something I'd been very passionate about, and that was helping other individuals just as Burl had helped me. After receiving my CPS certification, I spent months trying to find somewhere hiring with COVID slowing things down for everyone. But eventually I was able to find employment with Ozark Center in Joplin with their integrated treatment for co-occurring disorders program. And yes, I drove from Joplin and home every single day. The 7 months I spent in Joplin is invaluable to me, so I could learn how to become a good CPS. Then one day, while catching up on client notes, I received a phone call from a CPS at Branson West. She told me she was moving over to the CSS role soon, and she asked if I would be interested in the peer role. Of course I was interested and promptly completed and submitted an application that day. After completing the interview process and getting offered the position, I was ecstatic because finally I would have the opportunity to not only work with some of the same people who helped me, but also give back to the same community that embraced me in a time of need. Also, the people I work with are amazing because they have the passion for helping others that inspires me, and they make every day enjoyable. There is no doubt just how important and influential my recovery has been in my life. That recovery would not have happened without my journey through Burl Behavioral Health. Even though it has been a long journey to this point, I know I still have much further to go because I'll be in recovery for the rest of my life, and it will take continuous effort on my part, which is why I returned to college by taking online courses through Southern New Hampshire University while working towards my bachelor's degree in psychology. And I hope to one day get my master's degree and possibly become a licensed counselor. But I'm also excited to see how the peer position continues to develop moving forward with possible additional certification levels and increasing scopes of practice. Thank you.
I second that, James. I saw that applause. Applause, applause. And Jeremy, I know you have a few minutes here. Take a minute to scroll back through the chat. If you have a minute, a lot of reactions to your story and you being willing to share it here with us today. We're going to welcome James. We talked prior, and our thought is that we want to hear from both. We know some of our team, you move on right at 12:30, and we want you to for sure hear both stories as we get closer to the 12:30 mark. And if you can stick around, do stick around. If you can't, then what we've decided as we elevated Ralph last year, Recovery Services is a part of our team every single day. So as long as we get to hear both stories today, we can plan follow-up conversations for our entire future ahead. So with that, Jeremy, I want to say thank you. We hope you get to stick around and know that you might need to get going, and we will welcome James. Hey, James.
How's everyone doing today? My name's James Hess. I am a peer specialist here at the Branson Clinic. I chose to write "I'm gonna follow" like Jeremy on my script, but it more highlights my journey into Borough Recovery Services. I told Shelly if I had to talk about all of my journey, it would take days. So I want to focus on the part on where I got into Recovery Services. And I moved out here in Forsyth in November 2018. I was just released from being incarcerated with a 20-year prison sentence over my head. I figure I had 20 years in substance use, 10 straight as a heroin IV user. I had moved out here. I was on 3 years probation, and my brother Matt had just passed away from a drug poisoning. My parents didn't trust me, nor had they barely talked to me in over 10 years. Needless to say, I felt pretty alone. I did not know what I was going to do. All I knew is that I had to complete an outpatient program, and if I stumbled, the judge made it quite clear that I would spend the next decade in prison. My brother Aaron was in the Army, and never once did he leave my side. As he might have not been there physically, he was there during like my active addiction. He just never stopped showing that he loved me. He told me when I was being released, I talked to Mom, and I know that's the last person's name you want to hear, but she said you could come stay with her. The whole train ride out here to Missouri, I was a mess mentally and emotionally. How could someone that wouldn't even buy me a pizza when I was hungry want to give me a chance? My parents had picked me up from the train station in St. Louis, headed to Forsyth. That ride actually might have been worse than the train. It was explained very clear that I was being given one chance, and it sounded like the statements from the judge. I was to do this and that, and I could not do this or that. See, I had been in treatment while I was incarcerated, but at that point, I still didn't know a lot, and I still had a lot of work to do. In January of 2019, I had walked into Branson, and I was given a screening and fully started services in February. My parents wouldn't allow me to stay at their home during the day, so I was dropped off at C-Star all week at first from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. This was the start of a relationship with Pearl that still holds to this day. That was the first day with the screening. I met my counselor, and she smiled and listened to me so intensely. I thought to myself, it's been a really long time since someone had smiled at me like that. I was all over the place and left not remembering a lot of the conversation, but that smile I can still picture. She seen the person beneath the pain, I think. The starter classes and groups were great, mostly because I could be around people. I didn't have a lot of people at that time, and I felt like everyone seemed to generally care about me. Not only that, they voiced that I was doing great. I went from feeling angry because I couldn't stay home and had to come to Borough all day to looking forward to it. I was around people like myself in groups. They knew my struggles because many of them had the same going on. My counselor really inspired me and supported me. I felt like she was my number one fan. The texts became friends or maybe role models now looking back. I came out here from what I would say half into my recovery. I had started to help those in the recovery pod while incarcerated. My brother's death really had made me think about life. My counselor helped me explore that, and the more I did, the more I started to feel a sense of purpose. I had gifts and talents, not to mention a thriving need to learn. The team in Branson really helped me learn life skills that I needed. I started to apply the things that I had learned, all the while at home things were getting a little bit better. I had talked with my parents and started to understand why they had stepped away, and most importantly, why they gave me my chance. We both had a terrible trauma happen. We both had lost my brother. My parents coped by giving another child a second chance, and I coped by bettering myself so I could help those not experience the hardships that I had. The education I got from C-STAR provided me the skills to communicate, set boundaries, and use coping skills to deal with life's difficult situations. The unhealthy substance use was just my way of running, and my disease of addiction caused many cognitive distortions and criminal behavior. Burl helped me understand that I'm a good person that had a disorder, and if I treat the disorder, the good person will shine bright. In my counseling sessions, I talked about wanting to help those like myself, and I had dreams of working in a place like this, but I felt deep down that that could never happen. I had done too much. I had hurt too many people. I have a background. My counselor looked up at me in the session and said, "James, you are one of the smartest people I've met, and you can do anything you set your mind to." Now I don't know, nor will I know what the conversations led up to Kate, the CSS, looking at me and asking me if I would want to work here. That she'd think that I'd be a great peer. But she did ignite a fire in me that still burns bright to this day. The peer specialist pulled me into the office a couple of days later and said, "You know, you need a GED at least to be hired here, right?" And I looked at him and wondered why he was really telling me this, but then I also felt a bit of sorrow. I didn't have no GED. I didn't have nothing. I came out here with half a backpack full of stuff that probably needed to just be thrown away. Needless to say, the peer helped me navigate that, and I got my GED the next week. So after doing that, he helped me work through my graduation speech for treatment, and I had spent almost every day of the week, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., class after class, group after group, working on my recovery as hard as I could. One day I heard a comic that was in recovery, Mark Lundholm, say, "I owe, so I go." I felt that in my heart. I was so busy focusing on myself and doing everything I learned about my skills in recovery, I never stopped to look around at the impact I was making on everyone else. My graduation, every counselor had came in. The clients actually showed up just to be able to hear the speech. It was so impactful to have so much support. I knew that I knew I had a new life in recovery, and it was grand on all fronts. I had to talk with the director after my graduation. It was amazing to hear that they would be processing my application. My interview would be in 7 days after completion of the program. Today, I've been with Burl for over 3 years. I have 4.5 years since my last use of heroin, and I've gotten sole custody of my daughter that I didn't even have a relationship with in the past 13 years. I have a beautiful wife. I've used my skills to create a family that can rely on me. I have 5 children that I take care of. I have 3 professional credentials and a college degree. No one would have seen that 5 years ago. I have helped so many people, and that helps me in my journey of recovery. I always say, I spend 40 hours a week working on my recovery, if not into extra overtime. When I go home, I'm the at-large member that represents the community on the Drug Poisoning Coalition. I'm on the steering committee for that. I mean, I do multiple things that help give back. I'm trusted. That's probably my main part of my recovery. I'm trusted. Like, I was not the person that could be trusted at all. And to be able to have people's trust, that means the world to me. And that's the part that I wanted to highlight. Thank you.
Oh gosh, I lost my mute button. I was so into hearing these stories. And again, both of you, Jeremy and James, I hope that you were able, I think what I'll do as well is go back. I think I can capture some of these comments that are put into the chat since we are recording to share back out with you. But if you do have a minute, make sure that you are reading these comments. So much gratitude to both of you, Jeremy and to James. And I just have to say this out loud. I typed it. You both make Burrell better. And I want to echo what Carl is saying. I think elevating our team's voices on every given chance we can. Michelle said it too. This is the inspiration and the hope and the reminders of why we do what we do together. So I just, again, want to echo everything that's being said in the chat and to thank you both for it. That takes a lot to share your story among colleagues here. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being willing to share with us and for your service. So before Burrell and certainly at Burrell, and just the positive contributions that both of you are making in our communities. I don't want to keep Jeremy or James too much longer today, but we did want to make sure that we welcome any questions or anyone want to unmute and just engage with Jeremy and James, our beloved colleagues here in this very moment. Let's make sure that we wrap up around 12:45ish, probably as late as we'll want to go here. But any comments or questions that we want to ask to Jeremy, to James? I know Ralph has been on the line, Amanda has been on the line. If there was one point of what we hope to do today, it's to help all of us feel confident in relying on our colleagues right here at Burrell with recovery, any kind of recovery services. And then I think you all just took it to a whole nother level that we weren't expecting. So I'm going to be quiet, welcome any questions, comments, reflections, just opportunity to engage here as a team with Jeremy and with James.
Can I say something?
Please, welcome.
Hi, my name is Alina. I actually work, my peers work closely with James and Jeremy. I think I want to echo what everyone said in the chat. I think recovery is something that's difficult, but also having people that are willing to share their experiences gives me the motivation, especially on tough days like today, to keep doing what I'm doing, to keep motivating my staff and to keep, my head in the game. So I wanted to thank them for having the courage to share their story on such a big platform, but also thanking them for coming to Burrell and really being a great and source of inspiration for our clients. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna hop in here as well. And just kind of throw out there that we are actually watching this as part of our tree team meeting. So hi, everyone. Having worked with James as a former member of the tree team, that part where he was talking about being trusted kind of really resonated. And because working in a team like Tree and being able to be out in the community and being able to go find the clients that need access to help requires a high level of trust from us to our peers. And James, I just want you to know that, yes, that is definitely an accomplishment. And we did, that is something that we recognized in you. So I'm glad that you are continuing to work with me as we work on getting you your advanced credential, and same with Jeremy. I'm glad to be with you both as you guys go through that journey together. And again, you guys did a wonderful job today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
So if I could really quick, I know last year, 2 years ago or something, Shelly, I got on and joked about how I wasn't joking, but I said that Recovery Service is the best team that Burrell has. And I'm still not joking when I say Recovery Services is absolutely the best team that Burrell has. And I come to work every day for those in recovery. We are here for people that are going through that journey. And so again, James and Jeremy, to echo Alina and Daniel, thank you so much for everything that you do for Burrell, for trusting us to be part of your own recovery process. and also to come back and help serve those that we serve here at Burrell. So you did a fantastic job. I've heard bits and pieces of both of your stories, but I've never been able to hear all of it through. And so I'm honored to be able to sit in on this call today, listen to you guys, and show up every day for you. I say all the time, I work for you all. You don't work for me. And so it's an honor. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
My friends, I don't want this to end. Do we have any last thoughts or questions or connections as we ride this hope into our next few hours of this Monday in service to each other and to our community?
I just want to extend so much gratitude, Jeremy and James. We have much to learn from both of you and your stories. And I just keep thinking about, Brene Brown's words that James offered up to begin with. The humility and the humanness that you bring to the work and to us all is like modeling all that I ever hope to be on any given day. And it's a slippery slope with any kind of addiction or mental health crises, and we're all susceptible to it. And if it's not us, it could be our family members, and it's such a ripple effect, like James had been saying earlier today. And so I just have so much gratitude to have this moment in time to learn from you both. And and I'm just thankful. And I have 1,000,001 questions, so I'd love to have you back as well. But just so grateful.
The learning
Anytime.
today. Yeah, I was sitting here taking notes, and you said this in our planning conversation too. And I want to ask it in a question. Am I understanding correctly that the updated terminology would be to move away from drug, quote unquote, overdose to drug poisoning?
Yeah, that's more of the correct recovery language.
Yeah.
Because that puts more focus on the substance itself and not so much the person.
Yep. Language and that ongoing learning. And partnering with the pros who are just a message, an email, a phone call away as our dear colleagues. We're at 12:42. I want to ask one more time. Anybody have that burning question or reflection or observation that you want to share before we wind down for today? If not, what you can count on is through the BeWell Weekly, we will do our best to summarize all that Jeremy and James have offered here today, to offer these resources back out, including the video, the link to our webpage, our landing page for recovery services, the article that is out there, the SAMHSA toolkit. And for our internal purposes only, we will provide Jeremy and James, as y'all can find their email addresses anyways, but I think if there's a shout out or something that you want to offer through email or by Zoom, go ahead and take that opportunity, and we'll go ahead and drop their emails into our BeWell Weekly as well. So we'll try to do our best to summarize this so the rest of the system has access if we were not able to tune in today. And then when the full team gets back, Jeremy and James have agreed for us, we were recording today, and we will be partnering together to figure out how to best elevate their stories for our colleagues at Burrell as well as into the community. So thank you all for being here today. Thank you most importantly for bringing the hope, there's just the organic hope and all of the service that you provide to the communities, but to each of us too. You saw it here today that hearing from you reignites that why for all of us as well. Thank you, team. Whew, y'all are worth it. It's worth it to be here with each and every one of you. Have a great rest of your day. Sorry to keep you a little long, and thank you for staying on for this most important conversation and topic as we honor recovery services every day, and certainly in the month of September. Be well, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.